There they are, Mr. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Huge numbers there, 17-game season. And something to note about the Buccaneers, they are the first ever franchise to win a Super Bowl, obviously in the Super Bowl era, and bring back all 18 starters. Tom Brady, I was looking at schedule strength because I think that's really important when you look at the season long, because it is season long and you got to look at the entirety of the season. It's not 1 week off. The Buccaneers have the fourth easiest schedule strength based on opponents' records from last year in the NFL at 126 to 145 and 1. So Tom Brady's going to be able to take advantage of easier teams. I think he's going to be airing the ball out a lot, and he's going to have the same guys he just won a Super Bowl with. He's got Rob Gronkowski. He's got so many weapons to work with, obviously, on the outside with Godwin and Evans. I like him to go for more on Monkey Knife Fight. Nick, how do you see Tom Brady coming back in what seems to be his second or third prime? I don't even know at this point. The guy's so freaking old, but hey, father time keeps ticking.
Yeah, I mean, the only comparison is LeBron, right? Where it's every time you think you're ready to write him off, not only does he keep playing well, but keeps playing at an ultra elite level. You know, this isn't Peyton Manning on the Broncos where you're just kind of managing him and hoping that he doesn't, lob 5 interceptions up into the middle of the defense. Right. And obviously Manning played well enough to get them to a Super Bowl, but Tom Brady's not game managing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's in attack mode for this team. Based on the number, I think Monkey Knife Fight is pushing you toward the more, I guess, in this more or less scenario. I mean, Brady threw for over 4,600 yards last year in 16 games. This number's at 45, 50 and a half. So based on last year, based on what you said, bringing everybody back, I think this is probably the best receiving core in the league to a man. I mean, if Antonio Brown is your third option, and obviously he's not, 2017 Antonio Brown anymore, but that's a pretty damn good third option. A lot of continuity here. Pretty much everybody that they brought in was a hit. They've hit on some defensive guys in these last couple of drafts. I think they're the Super Bowl favorites for a reason. The one concern is, and I think we'll talk about this in context with Mahomes and with Aaron Rodgers as well. The 17-game season is a nice bonus, but there's a pretty decent chance that at least one of these guys, and I think Brady's probably on the top of the list by virtue of a number of factors, is he going to play all 17 games? If Tampa Bay is 14-2 going into, I guess what would be week 18, a term that I've never said in my life, if they're 14-2 going into that, he's probably not playing in that final game. So I think you have to consider that with the elite quarterbacks that, the 17-game season in theory gives you a boost, but what are the chances that they're actually playing all 17? Maybe there's a 60 to 70% chance. We'll see how the season goes. And I would push back a little bit on the strength of schedule. Tampa Bay is going to be favored in most of their games, but I think when you base it off of last season's records, it could be a little bit iffy. For example, week 1, they opened up against the Cowboys. The Cowboys were a better team last year than their record would indicate. Obviously, you lose Dak Prescott early on, and the season completely changes. I think that's a tougher game on paper than it looks based on last year's record. I think the Falcons in week 2, they get the Rams week 3. They're at the Patriots week 4. They're home against the Dolphins week 5. They should be improved. So there's really not a ton of cupcakes. I feel like on the schedule for Tampa Bay. It can kind of go both ways. Halloween night, they're playing at New Orleans. New Orleans should be significantly worse.
I mean, you did mention Atlanta there, not as a cupcake, and he gets to play them twice, and they might just have the worst passing defense I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think they're a total pushover. I mean, that's a game that Tampa Bay should and probably will win.
I think Matt Ryan will throw for a lot of yards. I think it'll be high scoring, but Tom Brady's going to get a lot of yards against.
For sure. I mean, I'm not saying every game is going to be tough.
Their defense all that much, and they're
not the Texans.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, that's fair. The Texans are in trouble. Deshaun Watson's back at Texans camp for those who are interested. Obviously, we'll get into Aaron Rodgers in a bit, but we'll stay with this conversation. But strength of schedule. I mean, yeah, you got a good point. I obviously think 2020 is different. I do also think when you do look at it, it does factor in because of the fact that it is a healthy dose, right? It is a fair sample size of a full season. Obviously, we talked about all the new blood in the league. 5 new teams got literally franchise quarterbacks. So those are 5 different teams that are going to look completely different. Maybe not on week 1, but by the end of the season. So I totally agree with you. It's not as of an interesting factor, but it does come into play, especially when you have the passing defenses like Atlanta that he gets to play twice, playing in the NFC playing in the NFC South. And obviously, I don't think New Orleans is going to be that same controlling the ball threat. Like, I don't think New Orleans is going to be able to do what they did last season and take 15 minutes to drive down the field, put up 7 points, force a 3 and out, and do that again and win the game by 14 points based off Alvin Kamara and short passing. Jameis Winston isn't that guy that's going to hit those routes. So I just think for that, I think Tom Brady does get the more. And I totally agree with you. And I think that comes into play huge with the benching and of guys to keep them healthy. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, who's obviously not happy in a situation. You're not going to want to put him in there, especially in the NFC North when Chicago doesn't really have their stuff figured out. Detroit doesn't look like they're going to be great. Minnesota doesn't have their stuff figured out. So it seems realistically like Green Bay is the team to beat there if they don't beat themselves. So I totally see where you're coming from. But in terms of Tom Brady, I'm going to have to take more on his passing yards on Monkey Knife Fight.